Allahu Akbar.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم للفقراء المهاجرين الذين أخرجوا من ديارهم وأموالهم يبتغون فضلا من الله ورضوانا وينصرون الله ورسوله أولئك هم الصادقون والذين تبوأوا الدار والإيمان من قبلهم يحبون من هاجر إليهم ولا يجدون في صدورهم حاجة مما أوتوا ويؤثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة ومن يوق شح نفسه فأولئك هم المفلحون والذين جاءوا من بعدهم يقولون ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. صدق الله العظيم.
So inshallah, Brother Riaz Lateef will facilitate this next session, establishing brotherhood. We did talk some parts of this subject yesterday. So inshallah, in depth, Brother Riaz will give us some insight with the help of everybody here.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا اللهم اجعلنا من الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر اللهم آمين يا رب العالمين. So, brothers, I'm going to start the program or this session with an exercise, and I'm going to pick some brothers randomly. They don't know that I'm going to pick them. So I'm going to call out, and I want you to come and join me on the stage, inshallah. Hold each other's hand. Okay. So let's call this as position 0. Remember this position. Position 0. All right? Now you can leave your hands. All right. Now I want you to lift your right hand. Everybody lift your right hand. Cross over and reach grasp someone's hand. No, go over, cross over. Yeah. All right. So it's better to do it like this, clasp it like this. Okay. All right. Now take your left hand and join it with someone else that you haven't caught before. Okay. Both your hands are busy now? All right. So now you can climb over, go under, but get to position 0. Get to position 0 without leaving your grip. without leaving your grip. You can climb over, do not leave your grip. Is that position zero? Just move. This is not regarding the roses, brothers. You can go over, go under, climb over, whatever that you need to do, but get to position zero. Don't leave your hands. Look back. Have someone bend down, have someone climb over. No cheating. Yeah, no help from the audience for now. All right, so we'll stop, inshallah. So I think at least you got it somewhere. You formed a circle at least. No, be on the stage. Be on the stage. And if you can, be on this side, inshallah. What do you think the purpose of this exercise was? Why do you think that we did do it?
Try to solve problems while you're connected with your brothers.
Just basic teamwork, communication, figuring out how to get things done all at once.
Yeah, I think we develop not that deep of a bond, but still we develop some sort of connection by trying to work together to solve a problem.
Okay.
Coordination.
Coordination amongst each other. Okay. So in this, did you find it, at any point did you find it difficult? Yeah. From the beginning?
At every point.
So, were you ready to give up?
Yeah, after each other, same thing
Oh,
over and over.
And did someone else say, no, don't give up?
Now he's give up together.
You're the one saying, oh, it's not
Okay, so you were ready to give up. Okay. All right. And then did you find any leaders during this exercise? Huh? No? No one was trying to take leadership and try to direct? I saw something was happening. I thought someone started directing people
Directing,
to go this way, go that way.
I think it was just teamwork.
Okay.
Because in this position, nobody had hierarchy. Everyone was in the same position, so you just moved with everybody.
So you didn't find any leaders among yourself to direct?
Not in this case.
I actually found him to be directing.
Okay.
So
Okay. Was anyone just following?
yes, we did follow, right? We did
No,
follow.
was just following and not taking part.
But it didn't work out. So we found out that he's not a right leader.
So, youngsters, three of you, so having a little bit older folks in your team, did that help or hurt?
Well, experience always helps. But I don't think anybody was experienced with this circle thing, so I don't think, in this case, not specifically. But in other cases, of course, always.
Okay. So, alhamdulillah.
I think one of the things we realized when we're in this is we started off wrong.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Because I guess if we had the end goal in mind, we might have started different because when we connected with each other, we just grabbed each other's hand at random. But if we had the idea of what's going to happen down the road, we might have strategized better to plan it in the way so that we can untangle
So
ourselves.
hindsight is always 20/20, right? But is that the way how world works? Life works?
We usually have a goal, right?
No, do you know what's going to happen in the future?
But at least the goal allows you to align somewhat. You might not get 100% there and the 100% track might not follow, but at least you have some kind of an idea where you're trying to hit to. Here we had no idea what we're trying to hit to. We
So
just
when I
went
said
in.
position zero, that didn't click at all.
Not at all.
All right. So
what this whole exercise is called a human knot. The whole exercise is called a human knot. And do we face knots in life? And the way that we come across we come across knots, and the way we solve knots is not just by working by ourselves. And Islamic work is similar to that. As we embark on the movement of the Islamic journey, or the journey of the Islamic movement, then we are going to face a lot of problems. And the only way that we can face those problems and solve those problems is by doing teamwork and having brotherhood, understanding each other. You will find leaders emerging in this situation. You will find some followers. You will find some old, young, all kinds of people. But unless the team works together, you will not be able to succeed. That is the whole idea of doing this exercise. I just wanted to kind of get that going, inshallah, initially, before we started the session. So hopefully that helped. So now I want to come back to the audience. I want to get your thoughts about this exercise. What did you think that we were doing? Just a game for fun? Not the 6 people who participated, but I want to hear from others. From your observation, what did you learn?
Establishing the brotherhood.
Okay, establishing the brotherhood.
They seem to have started without any plan. That's why
So planning is important too. Yes, brother.
I think they started without a plan because they didn't have the goal in mind. The goal wasn't given to them at the beginning. They didn't know that they would have to form to get back to position 0.
Whatever the problems, hurdles, obstacles you have, but you are still connected.
Okay, we are still connected. They did not let their hand go. One did, actually. They tried to leave and then grasp again. Yes, but most of the part, they stayed connected. So, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, actually the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said in a hadith, أن أبي موسى رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال المؤمن للمؤمن كالبنيان يشد بعضهم بعضا. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, a believer to another believer is like a strong brick wall structure. يشد بعضهم بعضا. That each part reinforces and strengthens the other part. Now I want to ask, why did the Prophet ﷺ use this example of a strong wall? What is about this wall? Again, raise your hand and the mic will come to you, inshallah. My goal is not to go through all these steps here, but I want to spend, inshallah, towards the end of the session, or my session here, to come up with some action items to build brotherhood. But before that, I just want to ask again, going back and asking the same question, why did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So the hadith says that a brother, a believer to another believer, is like a strong wall. Each brick in the wall enforcing and reinforcing and strengthening another. يَشُدُّ بَعْضُهُمْ بَعْضًا. So why did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam use this example of a strong wall? I mean, you all seen a brick wall, right? Everybody have seen a brick wall. Yes, brother. Okay, can we pass the mic here?
A wall between him and the hellfire, maybe. That's one of the understanding I can have, because when you are a believer to believer will protect you, but kind of help you not to go into that area where you're not supposed to go, because it's a reminder to each other and making sure you pull each other back so you become like a wall, not letting him fall down.
So think about a strong wall, okay, with bricks in it, right? We've all seen a wall. What connects the brick to another brick?
If you think about a brick wall, what I think connects them is the cement. So you can say if one of the bricks gets taken out, or the cement is ruined, the whole wall eventually gets ruined. So every little piece matters in the wall.
So the brick, what connects the brick to each other is the cement, right? The cement has to be strong in order for the wall to be strong. talking about a believer to another believer. It's like a strong wall. What connects you and I together?
Our deen.
Huh? Our deen, our iman. If our iman is weak, the wall becomes weak. Our brotherhood becomes weak.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think it's trying to come to the concept of unity between the brotherhood, a concept that seems to be lacking these days, but I mean, hopefully we can bring it back, strengthen the ummah that way.
Another thing to think about is in a wall, all the bricks are similar.
Okay.
So similarly, because we all follow Quran and Sunnah, therefore we all should be similar, and that also is the strength of the wall itself.
Okay. Everyone
Alaikum.
trying to be equal, right? Yes.
So it's very simple. I mean, you are a product of the people around you. So if your deen is strong, and the people around your deen, around you, their deen is strong, then you will remain steadfast. And if you're separated from them, then you can easily get away from Islam. So I always think of it in a way that it's important that just like how we are here together, is that we all understand La ilaha illallah, right? And we always have that in our head all the time. At least we try to. And if we spend less time with one another, then we could tend to veer off. And so it's very important that we all stay connected to one another, just like how bricks are connected as well.
Yeah, very good. So, yes, brother Shahid.
So one of the example that I learned in my middle school, I guess, is talking about the matchstick, right? When you have one, they can easily break it. Like anyone can just hold it in the hand and just break that. But when you have 5 matchsticks, you cannot just, hold it and just break that. So that's the concept of this having the brick wall, that each person will hold each other accountable and making sure that they have the same level of faith. And when they're down in their, when they have some downfall in their life or whatever it is, it brings it back to them to that same faith level that, still keep believing in Allah. Things are going to happen. Like just kind of keeping your brother in check and making sure that we all are, working towards the same goal, which is, Jannah.
Very good. Yes. It's the same concept. If you are just alone, you are just a brick, no value. But when you are together, you are bunyan marsus.
Very good. And sometimes, have you seen a wall where some bricks are cut to make sure that the wall looks nice? To make, let's say, a rectangular wall, sometimes you will find not all the bricks, most of the bricks are of the same size, but some bricks are cut to make the wall look nice. Have you seen that? Why do you think that is?
Some Muslims brother has to be shahada or sacrifice their money, their life to make the wall beautiful.
MashaAllah. Sacrifice, right? In order to make the wall strong, sometimes you have to sacrifice. What else comes to mind when you're seeing a half brick or a 3/4 of a brick?
It makes the wall look beautiful.
Okay, go ahead.
I should be the first one to give rather than asking for others to give.
Okay. And sometimes we may have things in ourselves, sins, right? Our characters. It may not be exactly perfect. Sometimes we have to shed that part of our character, of ourselves, to make the wall brick. Sacrifice, we can come up with many other things. So just that one word of the Prophet ﷺ, just imagine how many lessons we can get out of that. And the Prophet ﷺ, each and every word that he said, mashallah, you can just write volumes on it. So that's why I just wanted to start with this. Yes, brother.
Concept is also that just give as much you can. You don't know what part of you that you're giving will bring the beauty and completion of that part.
Very
so
good.
whatever time you have.
All right, any ayat that comes to mind about brotherhood?
One is وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا.
Very good. Surah Al-Imran, right?
Right.
Very good. Yeah. Pass it on to Brother Javed.
إنما المؤمنون إخوة.
إنما المؤمنون إخوة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives a beautiful example of brotherhood in the Quran. It's, to me, personally, I feel that this is an epitome, this is an example of brotherhood. And those are the verses that Harun recited at the beginning of the session today. And what was the verse? Surah Al-Hujurat. And he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, وَالَّذِينَ تَبَوَّوُا الدَّارَ وَالْإِيمَانَ يُحِبُّونَ مَنْ هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِمْ وَلَا يَجِدُونَ فِي صُدُورِهِمْ حَاجَةً مِمَّا أُوتُوا وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he talks about 4 important characteristics of brotherhood. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he talks about 4 important characteristics of brotherhood. I recited the ayah. Can anyone translate it for me?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the Ansar in this ayah, talking about how they love these muhajirun. يحبون من هاجر إليهم ولا يجدون في قلوبهم في صدورهم حاجة مما أوتوا ويؤثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة. And they love them and they have nothing in their heart. As a matter of fact, because the muhajirun had a higher status and they came from Mecca with the Prophet ﷺ, and they obviously were the first in the religion. So the Ansar did not take it in terms of, oh, these people are much higher than us, and they did not have any feelings against them. They actually welcomed them in open arms, number one. And then the final part of the ayah, the very وَلَا يَجِدُونَ فِي صُدُورِهِمْ حَاجَةً مِمَّا أُوتُوا وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. And they would prefer them onto themselves, even if they were in need. And many of the references to this ayah was probably revealed in terms of where the situation where when Ansari invited someone else and he closed the lights off and he actually served the guest the meal. And at the same time, maybe references to the other the ukhuwa between the Ansar and Muhajirun, and how each one of them gave what they have and was ready to divide their property and their wives into 2 parts. Like, okay, this is yours and this is mine. But that feeling of brotherhood is what is really being discussed in this ayah. That when you are in that state of brotherhood, now you don't care. Whatever I have is yours, right? Whatever I have, you can have. So there's no limits. That real, true connection between brothers is what's displayed, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. So again, going back to the 4 characteristics Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the ayah, وَالَّذِينَ تَبَوَّوُا الدَّارَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. So, وَالَّذِينَ تَبَوَّوُا الدَّارَ وَالْإِيمَانَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. The first one is what? Iman. What starts this brotherhood is Iman. Us saying La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. That is the first characteristic. Okay, what is the next one? يُحِبُّونَ مَنْ هَاجَرَ. They love the Ansar, as brother Jabed said. This is about the Ansar, the relationship between the Ansar and the Muhajirin. The Ansar, يُحِبُّونَ مَنْ هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِمْ. They love those people who emigrated. The love amongst the brothers. And what is the third? وَلَا يَجِدُونَ فِي صُدُورِهِمْ حَاجَةً مِمَّا. They did not find anything in their heart for what was given to the Muhajirin. The Ansar did not find anything in their heart for what was given to others. Now I want to ask the question, a few questions I want you to answer. How is our wall, do you think? Think of the wall of brotherhood in front of you. How do you think that wall looks like? How does it look like? Do we have a wall, by the way? Current state, yes.
So, I think if we have the strong wall, like whatever is going on with our ummah, it wouldn't be that situation. It's like, so we are not united. We are not united at the moment. So
keep your mic a little bit closer to your mouth, brother.
Yeah. So that's my saying. So we are not united. So if we were united, we would be standing against the opposite forces, which are trying to make tafarqa among us and make us ununited.
One thing I've noticed is that as your social status and your economic status improves, you feel the need for brotherhood less and less because you are not dependent on others. But when you don't have much, you're dependent on the society around you. This is what I've noticed from a long time. When we were growing back in India, there used to be very few resources. Everybody used to share. Like during Eid, there used to be a big communal meal in my house because people around could not afford much, so they used to come to my house. But once people started getting things and their economic status improved, they didn't feel the need to ask anybody for anything, so they stopped caring about others. And I think that plays a big role in capitalistic societies where people, they accumulate wealth, they feel less need for others, and they stop caring about others.
I mean, to me, we have a big hole in the wall of Brotherhood where you can just drive a flight through, right? I mean, that's the situation of a Brotherhood these days, with so many holes, with so large holes. We have to fix that. And again, we want to bring that down to icna. We want to bring that to icna and to our work. And before that, let me just complete the last one. So we talked about 3. Can anyone say the 3? We talked about 3 characteristics. Yes, Harun.
So the first one is obviously iman.
Uh-huh.
Second one is loving the people who are your brothers.
Uh-huh.
And the third one is not having any real strong feelings for the stuff you give for them. You know, just because you love them, you give whatever.
You know, that they get. So
yeah.
So وَلَا يَجِدُونَ فِي صُدُورِهِمْ حَاجَةً مِمَّا أُوتُوا. So whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them, they don't find anything in their heart. But is that the situation? If we see one of our brothers having a wife, did I say wife phone? An iPhone. So if you see a brother having an iPhone, and you have this old Nokia, how is your heart going to be? How will your heart be? I mean, I'm not asking for a response, but ask yourself. If your brother gets a nice, beautiful 5,000 square foot house, how would you feel? And your brother gets a nice job, how is your heart? These are questions that we have to ask ourselves. It all comes down to our heart. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, the epitome, the example of brotherhood is that you don't find anything in your heart for what was given to your brother. And of course for sisters and sisters. But that is not where we are. And what is the 4th characteristic? وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ. They prefer their brothers over themselves, even though they themselves were in need. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that Ansar, they preferred the Muhajirin over themselves, even though they themselves were in need. Subhanallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these are the 4 things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about. Remember, I'll come back to it, there will be a quiz. Iman, love for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not having anything in your heart for the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them, and then preferring your brothers over yourselves, even you might be in need. These are the 4 characteristics, my dear brothers and sisters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about any hadith that comes to mind, any situation from the seerah that comes to mind that kind of talks about any of these 4 characteristics.
I just wanted to add one thing.
Go ahead.
The last point that you mentioned it, right? So even when they had a need, and then they will be preferring to giving to them. One of the scholars, he mentioned it. In Arab countries, the similar. If you go to the marketplace, they will have the same store, maybe let's say vegetable store, small grocery store or something, right? So they will have a same kind of store next to each other. What the first brother he does it. So once he gets the provision for the day, he will close the shop, so that the other brother will get the provision for him to run the family. Even though he may have a need for tomorrow, he doesn't worry about that. So as soon as he makes some money for today, he will say, Alhamdulillah, I am done for today. Let me go so that you can make some money. So this is another way.
Subhanallah. Yes. Along the same lines, do you know who Mehmed II is?
You mean the Mehmed the Conqueror and Muhammad
Same person. All right. What did he do? Where did he get the title?
Conquered Constantinople.
MashaAllah, he conquered Constantinople. So when he was planning to conquer Constantinople, he did everything that's possible. He built a big fort to cut the supplies of the weapons to Constantinople. And he built these large, what do you call the things that throw? Catapults. He built these large catapults that can throw the rocks for miles. He prepared everything that's possible. Then he thought to himself, even if I prepare all these things, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will not give me victory if the heart of my people is not good. So he put on a disguise, he went to the market, and he wanted to buy honey, cheese, and butter. He wanted to buy honey, cheese, and butter. So he went to the first shop, and he said, give me honey, cheese, and butter. And the person, the shop owner, he gave him cheese, and he said, he didn't know, he didn't recognize who Muhammad, the two words. He was in disguise. So he said, he gave him the butter, and he said, I made my first sale today, but two of my brothers, they have shops too. They haven't made their sale yet. Why don't you go and buy the honey and cheese from them? So he went to the second shop, and he asked for honey and cheese. And the shop owner gave him some honey, and he said, I have a brother who's next to me. He hasn't made his first sale yet. Why don't you go and get the cheese from him? And of course he went and he got the cheese from him, and then he said to himself, if this is the condition of my people, not only I can conquer Constantinople, I can conquer the entire world. These were the statements of Muhammad. And look at our situation. We cry, we lament about not having success. We lament about a situation, but at the same time we have to look at our situation of the Brotherhood as well. Why are we in this situation? Why are we in this situation? Muslims fighting against Muslims. That's what we mostly see, right? That's what we mostly see. Again, going back to those four things. What are the four things again? Anybody?
The first one is Iman.
Uh-huh.
Second one is loving your brother for the sake of Allah. Third thing is not keeping any hatred against your brother. The fourth is preferring your brother over you.
Inshallah, those are the four things. Those are the four things of Brotherhood. And give me some examples. I want to hear from people who haven't spoken before. Give me some examples from the Seerah, or even from your personal experience, the examples of Brotherhood that you've seen. Anybody? It doesn't have to be from the Seerah. It can be your own personal experience.
Wasn't there like a situation during a war in which there were several people that were in need of water, and one of them was calling on the person to get some water, and once he got the water, he realized that the guy next to him needed it, so he sacrificed it and said, no, give it to him. And they did that several times until the last person said, well, no, the other guy needs water, until when he went all the way back around, he had passed away, and then so on and so on and so on.
Yes, Amr bin Hisham, if I'm not wrong. Yes, that is a story, yes.
Sahabi Abu Talha, one of the guests, sent to his house. They had very limited,
keep it closer to you.
Very limited food, and they gave the entire food to the guest and didn't eat anything. And Rasulullah was informed about this. Next day, he ate.
Alhamdulillah. Very good. So what do you think, Harris, if you could take some notes about this section. How do you think that we can, Iman, we talked about ta'alluq billah yesterday, so we don't have to go there. How do you think that we can increase the love amongst yourself? What ideas do you have? Or if something that has worked for you. Okay, yeah, go ahead, brother.
Call brothers over for biryani.
Okay.
Not sure if it has been said before, but I think just generally just meeting up in general. Because I feel just anything that you do, if you just, be it a meeting, be it a hangout, be it, dinner, be it just, some leisure activity, just being there for one another, showing up, that's a huge thing. For example, take this summit. This could have easily been done online, or Brother Javed or Brother Shahid could have just come to all of our regions and chapters, but we came together, we sacrificed our time, our flights, our money, whatever it is, just coming to see each other, meeting each other, getting to know each other even better. And you look at the Sahaba, that's how they improved so much, and because of them, we're all Muslim today. So I think simply as just showing up and meeting people goes a long way.
Okay, very good. I want to ask the question, when was the last time that you called your brother? When was the last time that you called your brother in Islam, not your blood brother? When was the last time? I want to see a raise. Raise your hands and let me know. When was the last time that you called your brother? Lift your hands. I want to see it. Yeah, raise it up. keep your hands up. Okay. No, keep it up. Keep it up. And you called him not for ikna. You called your brother not to do any projects. You just called your brother. MashaAllah. I think not a lot of hands went down. Some hands went down. But this is a common problem that we have, don't we? We call each other only to find out, hey, have you done the job? I asked you to do this. Did you get it done? Or coming up with a new idea about doing some ikna stuff. Right? Doesn't that happen all the time? That you're calling your brother just to get some work done for it related to ikna. Yes? Which has its own problems too, especially when you take the context out and when you type something or WhatsApp something, you don't understand the context and it leads to some misunderstanding, and then that starts another, it unravels a lot more stuff. So give me some more examples about how can we talked about biryani. What else? How can we improve love amongst the brothers? Yes, Hussein.
I think sometimes you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable position. You said prefer your brother over yourself. This is a small example. A couple of days ago, my friend's car broke down. He needed to get home. He called 4 or 5 guys that were there, but nobody was willing to take him. I had a class where I was okay, I'll be a little bit late to the class. I dropped him off. I'm sure he was we were talking, this and that, and I think for him, it probably felt a lot. A couple of years ago, my grandmother passed away. A lot of people called in and offered their condolences to my uncles who are also, ICNA members. But I remember Hanif Bhai, he flew in from Houston. So I remember my uncle, one of them, he was this is something he remembers forever, that he came to him. So small things, or it's not so small, but when you put yourself in an uncomfortable position, maybe it's not the best one for you, maybe it's not the easiest thing, but you do, you prefer your brother over yourself. You don't have to do it all the time, but occasionally. I think it means a lot to people, even small shows of gratitude.
So are we taking notes? So helping your brothers. So that we heard about the first thing, just meet for biryani, meet for anything. Now you said help your brothers. But let me add before I've got you to. So before, I want to ask this question. On a Sunday or a Saturday evening that you're enjoying your time with your family and your brother calls for that same reason, his car broke down and he wants you to drive half hour to help him out. How would you feel? Be honest to yourself. You don't have to answer me. Be honest to yourself. Opportunity to help out? Yes. It is an opportunity to get rewards. But how many of us feel, yeah, my brother is in need, I have to go help him out? Or do I feel, oh man, I just sat down with my wife, started watching this or watching that or doing this or doing that. It's normal, right? We feel that way. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us you sacrifice your own needs for your brothers. You prefer your brothers over yourself. So what else, brothers? Yes, I have 2 hands.
One of the things is that when you look at among us, I will have a question for all of us. How much we are here together, but how much do we really know about each other? We might know each other's name and maybe what we do, but we really don't know each other. I think that's the first step in basically really understanding each other. We had this discussion earlier at the breakfast today about our own chapter. How much do we know about what we do? as brothers. So we're saying we know each other, but we don't. So that will be the first step, that kind of get to know your brother, what Brother Shahid was saying yesterday, that get to know your brother a little bit more. What do you do? And that way you know each other's needs. And if you want to help, that's how the help will start. Otherwise, we're just at a superficial level that basically, yes, I know Brother Riaz by the name, that's about it. I don't even know the last name, so but that's about it. And the next thing is when you look at I have a non-Muslim friend, and subhanAllah, he makes me cry at times. And I ran for office recently, and during my campaign, my brothers promised a lot, but never showed up. That guy I could call in the middle of the night, John, I need this. He'll say, you want me to come right now? 6 o'clock in the morning, I'll call him. He will be there. And he will, today, if there is somebody 2 hours away and he needs help, I sometimes say, John, where are you? Oh, I'm in Baltimore. Why are you in Baltimore this early? Well, so-and-so called, his mother was sick and he needed a ride to, like, subhanAllah, isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing as a Muslim? We do not do what we have been told to do. But when you look at the non-Muslims, they are all the way in the forefront, and yet we say, no, we are Muslims.
So anyone here from the same unit? When we meet our brothers, when we go stand next to them and pray with them and do work for ICNA with them, how many of you do really know how many kids they have? What are their names? What grades they are in? Are they having problems? How is their financial situation? Are they in need? Do they have a job? Are they out of job? Do they need your help? Do we even worry about those things? I'm including myself. Just because I'm standing here and asking all these questions doesn't mean that I'm perfect. I need the most correction. But we have to think about it. This is our situation, right? When we come together and work, we say that we are brothers. We want to do iqamat ad-din. In this part of the world, how can you do iqamat ad-din when you can't just bring the brothers together, when you don't care for your brothers? This is our situation, is it not? How can you have such a lofty goal when we don't have the basics? You want to say something? Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. I want to give a perfect example of Brother Asim Asad. I was visiting him in Miami. I live in Boston. I was just visiting Florida with my family. We just visit him. But what he did, it was an example. I have my 3 daughters, my 3 sons with me and my wife. So he divided all his kids with my kids and with his kids, like daughters with daughters, boys with boys, me and his family and wife. So basically he said spend time with my family, and when we are coming back in the van, we ask our kids that what they really enjoy, and they say that this is the thing which they really enjoy, the time they have spent with their kids, like for an hour, 2 hours, and he forcefully say that you have talked with each other, you should be best friend. So that was, I think, is a perfect example. Like otherwise we just talk and kids was just listening, but he forcefully, it's the thing you say, human knot. He engaged into them conversation, and it's a perfect example. Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to add one beautiful example, special example. Before even ICNA, when I came to this country, I bought my first car. I paid interest. I didn't have much information about that, riba. Right, so first car was broke down, and then I was in the need of buying a second car. Second car, I already decided the car. $10,000 I needed it. Right, there's a Pakistani brother who doesn't speak my language. Right, so we meet in the masjid all the time. So we chat, talk to him about it, and then he asked me, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I have only $5,000. I'm going to get loan." Somebody. Then he started teaching me, "Why are you doing that? It's not haram to do that. I don't have any other option." And subhanallah, that brother, he said that, "Don't worry about it. I will give you $5,000. And then he wrote a check for $5,000. Then he called me for Maghrib prayer. We went to MCA, one of the biggest masjid. And then he also beautifully drafted a loan agreement. Then he invited 2 people who doesn't have anything about this. Then he said that you are just witnessing it, and I'm going to give a loan, and this brother is going to give me 5 checks. So I just want you to witness the transaction. So he did that. I gave 5 checks. then alhamdulillah, so he actually protected me from the riba. Right? This was the true caring. But think about it. We don't speak the same language. MashaAllah, beautiful brother. He was not with ICNA. I truly impressed. He was one of the brother. And then not only he actually taught me about helping, and also drafting the loan in Islamic agreement in a Quranic way. So this is the real caring. It's a true example, personal example. But let's say the ICNA brother is helping ICNA brother. That's a different thing. It's nothing to do with ICNA, not from the same country, not speaking the same language, but still, he really cared for a Muslim brother. And then he did not know that I'm going to be there, I'm going to go run away. He doesn't care about all these things. This is the true caring and the example for true caring.
That's why we Madrasis, we like Pakistanis and their food too.
So I just want to share something with you. I went through something known as the Landmark Forum, and it's a self-improvement, self-actualization course that I did. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. But basically, you learn how your past shapes who you are. So I just want to tell you a quick story. When I was about 7 years old, I was on the school bus, and I was sitting in the front, and my brother was sitting in the back, and one of his friends came, he was older than me, and my brother's age, about 3 years older than me. He came from the back of the bus to the front, and he was like pushing, kicking me, bullying me. And I made that mean that no one is there in my life, that I can't trust anybody. And that's basically how I lived my life until I was 25 years old. And that's why I didn't have a proper, childhood growing up. I was very authoritative, so on and so forth. So I realized that we as human beings, not let alone Muslims, we have certain traumas that we go through in life when we're young or even when we're growing up, and that shapes who we are. And when I was going through the forum, I realized that forget about knowing, other brothers and sisters in Islam. We don't know ourselves, or we don't even know people in our family well enough, right? We don't even know that. And a lot of people, you hear about what traumas people go through, and what I went through was nothing compared to what people really go through. And I think that one of the things that we really need to talk about and understand is let's really get to know our true family, and then we get to know our brothers and sisters. There are people, there's one time when we have to call people that we haven't spoke to in 10, 15 years. There are people who have terrible relationships with their brothers and sisters and uncles and aunts, and there's something that went wrong financially or physically, whatever the case may be, and they don't talk to them, right? So I think from an internal perspective, we need to understand, okay, things that happen in our life, what actually happened, what we made it mean. And that's one of the things that we get to identify in that course. And that's how it shapes us who we are. We all go through certain issues and traumas in life, and we hold that as regret for, when we are thinking about, okay, I don't want to talk to that person because that person did that to me. But at the end of the day, Allah's going to ask us on Yawm al-Qiyamah, He says, what did you do? Did you forgive that brother or not? Right? And so I think that that's one of the things that we hold on to a lot. And, we just say that, we want to be the one in power. And so one of the things that we talk about is, whenever you're having a conversation with somebody, or whenever you're thinking about something, do you have a loss of power, freedom, or self-expression? Right? And when you learn about that, you realize that, if you have a loss of either, you're being inauthentic, right? When you're having that conversation with somebody. And that's why, even for me, when I was, calling my parents and telling them how, inauthentic I was being towards them because I was very authoritative, right? I was the one calling all the shots, even though I'm the youngest person, right? It was a very emotional time, conversation, because I realized that, I was being inauthentic and I was being wrong in that relationship.
Okay. So can you share, I'm going to probably pick on Tariq Bhai. Tariq Bhai, share some of the things that you do to bring about brotherhood unit, so that work for you. Because we are here to learn from each other, right? We want to know what worked and what did not work.
Bismillah. Honestly, I think that's one of my weak areas. Some of the things that I try to do is I try to connect with the brothers, besides work, right? So besides the ICNA work, unfortunately, it's very rare that we get those opportunities. Just recently, we realized this, and we are working on it. So we held our ICNA family get-together. And some of the brothers, they had provided that feedback, and I felt that it was really important So we planned an ICNA family get together, and the way that New Jersey unit has been operating for a while, it was very work centric. ICNA Relief was a strong entity, and they were all ICNA Relief. There were not cross communications with ICNA New Jersey, for example, which is the parent, you would imagine, with Helping Hands, which is a parallel sister organization, with Y Islam, which is a parallel sister organization. So in this event, what I did, and also Sisters Wing, YM Brothers, YM Sisters. So what we did was we said, okay, continuously blasted out communication that this is an ICNA New Jersey event. ICNA Sisters, YM Brothers, YM Sisters, Relief, Helping Hand, CSA, everybody. Bring your families, right? And we continue to emphasize that. Alhamdulillah, we got a lot of attendance. One of the things that we emphasized on is that in this event, we're not going to talk about work. We're not going to talk about work. We're not going to talk about anything else. And we did like a fun way of introduction where rather than going around the hall introducing each other, we said, okay, we'll play a game where, you write something about yourself and then you put in that, note card, and then we'll pick it out and we'll read it, and you're not supposed to say that it's you. Everybody else has to guess. So it was kind of an engaging way where kids were also there. They enjoyed it. Alhamdulillah, it worked out well. But I think it's still not enough. I think we need to do a lot more.
Let's hear from others too. So, family get-togethers, Haris.
Most of these concepts that we talk about in the neighbornet, if we try to practically get involved, so just these are very minor things. One thing is one of our neighbornet's attendee, his mother was really ill, and he's from Chennai. So, and she passed away about a month ago, 2 months ago. So what we did is we all gathered together and we did a prayer together, both for her health and other things. So that kind of brings about some kind of a connection, a joint connection, a communal connection with the being part in happiness as well as in sadness. Similarly, there's one brother who really likes a certain kind of food. So one of the neighbornet, what we do is we all gather and we go to that restaurant, even though none of the other brothers really enjoy that much, but that brother enjoys it. So we take up things like that in a more practical manifestation of being part of both in the happiness and sadness. So that brings about more team and camaraderie within the group.
Very good. Yes.
Yeah, just to add on to what Gazbai and Brother Tariq, just having like that social and like that, I guess you could say, open environment really works. And Brother Asif, my former boss, it kind of goes back to him. So our Helping Hand office in our area right here, 30 minutes from here, we kind of treat it as like a community center. And so in the sense that pretty much anybody that wants to come, anyone, youth, MSA member, any of you guys, whatever, you're more than welcome to come. In fact, if I walk into the office at 12 o'clock at night, I would not be surprised if I see people there. So we made like this culture in a sense that, we want people to come, just kind of hang out, play some games. The guys are right here, they're my witness as well too. And then we see like people like, who we never thought ever would be like involved with this kind of work, be part of it. I'll give you an example. We had a little going away party for one of our friends. He's now in the Bay Area. Congratulations, you guys earned somebody else from Maryland. So he left, I think, a few months ago. And so we threw him like a farewell party. And like the people who came to that party were people who were like not involved with ICNA, with a Helping Hand, nothing. There are people who typically say, I don't want to do any Muslim events. And so they came, and then as they were leaving, they saw the pile of clothes that we had in the warehouse. And then one of my friends goes like, hey Naveed, do you need help with that? I'm like, yeah. He's like, when? I'm like, well actually this weekend we have a container coming, so that'd be cool if you can stop by. Now in my mind I'm like, yeah, he's not gonna come. And so they're like, yeah, I'll come. I'm like, okay. And so he leaves. And then that following weekend, he along with 20 other people come to the warehouse. So again, small steps that you get people in by a very social, a social gathering. And these, fun activities, the hangouts, just kind of being there, playing games, playing sports, going out to eat, like Brother Waqaza said, simple things like this, I think it goes a long way. Of course, it's some extra time from your end because again, we're all busy. We're doing a lot of things, chapter presidents, unit presidents, neighbornet leads, ICNA, MGAs and all that. But just find some time, I would say at least once a week, give back to your people and all that, and then inshallah make a drastic impact and change.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, brother.
My observation, I have been with ICNA for a few years. I think ICNA is a religious organization in our head. And fun and religion, I think in our heads are two separate things. So whenever we talk or we meet, it's very formal. And that's where our conversation usually lead to our work, religious affairs and all that. And therefore, it never go to the informal way of discussion or have fun and all that. And I think that's where, I don't know, probably it's the way we think about religion, that it's just a very formal way, and it's always very formal.
So any new ideas you would like to share?
So, Assalamu alaikum. One thing we always forget is going to the basics of this is just asking your brother, how are you doing? Like not with the content of, oh, we need to ask them to do something, but with the content of how exactly are you doing? If you're having any trouble with like stress or any work related or any house related. Because with all of these events, it's amazing. Sure, you can hang out again, as the brother was mentioning, like these are formal things. But what about the informal? Because a lot of the brothers, even now with their life, with their families and all that, they still struggle with stress. So just asking them, because one of the examples I remember, like it was about a few weeks ago, us being youth, we're always struggling with like the stress of assignments, like those kind of stuff. And one of my friend, he saw that I was stressed. He left his meeting. He's like, you know what? Just tell me how you're doing. And that really actually meant so much to me that I'm like, okay, that brother actually cared. He might not know completely about my family, like, okay, how many brothers do I have, like name of each person individually, but he actually cared that he spent 15 minutes just asking how my experience was, why am I even stressed for that? Because that actually builds that brotherhood connection. Because this meeting, sure, it's formal, we're chatting with each person, oh, how's your job, everything. But do we actually know that how each person is doing mentally? How they're doing, financially in their life, like all of these personal things?
Yeah, so last comment and we need to wrap up. So, yes.
Yeah, so one thing that I do every Sunday morning, I pick that day because, it's a weekend. I open my phone and I go to my contacts page, I close my eyes and I just scroll through. And whoever that I stop at, I open my eyes, I have to call that person. And I have to have a 20-minute conversation with them and just asking them who they are, how they are, and things like that. So I think that's an excellent way to just build connections with people. Because for me, it's kind of like Russian roulette. You don't know who you're going to pick. Whether it's a person you haven't spoken to 10 years or someone you just spoke to yesterday. I think that's a great action item.
I just wanted to add one thing on the social gathering. Just 1 minute, is that okay? So in Bay Area, so what we do, it's a monthly social gathering. It's purely for social purpose. So last Sunday of every month. So we come together as a family. So we also encourage them to bring some snacks. We'll provide chai. Mainly to just come and socialize, play. And then we pray Asr and Maghrib together. And then there will be a 5 minutes khatra. We'll conclude that. It's been working every month. The last Sunday we do that. And then also every second Saturday night we do a qiyam. That's only for brothers. But even when during the qiyam time, there will be a 5-10 minutes time we take socialize. We just to hang around and then get to know each other. This is a monthly event. If you consistently do that, so this will definitely strengthen the brotherhood.
I need to request you to remove this misunderstanding that there is no fun in religion.
Yeah. I assume that it's understood. So
I hope so. I hope so.
Assalamu alaikum. I just wanted to emphasize, here we are talking about difficulty about brotherhood from brothers coming from pretty much the same region in the world. So I think it should show you, how much harder it is for a revert who has to come into this brotherhood as well. But most of the reverts come into a completely different culture. I'm married to a I'm married to a Pakistani lady for like 19 years. I mean, but I mean, it's still a very different culture for me to get into the Pakistani culture. You know, I mean, I can handle your food, I can handle all this, but I mean, if I look at some international news, I mean, I'm going to look at international news in France, for example, and some of my best Muslim friends are still Moroccans or Algerian because, I mean, we have the French culture. A lot of them have spent a lot of time in France. I mean, I think we need to really think about a way to make it easier for the revert, you know, when to come into this culture, into this deen, because I mean, it's more than religion; it's just completely the culture, you know. So I mean, the religion can bring us together, but we need to. I think immigrants need to make a real effort to. I don't know, to just welcome those new revert and to try to facilitate
I would say,
the
in your
transition.
social events and all that, yeah, just invite them and make them feel comfortable. And we have to think about new ideas as well. Okay, so the first one that we have is spend time with each other. Figure out a way, go out for ice cream, something. Just figure out what's best for you, what's best for your unit. Communicate with your brothers, especially when you don't need it. Just call them. And this is a habit that we all have to get into. Call your brothers, not for ICNA work, not for any personal thing. Just call to say, Assalamu alaikum, how are you doing? How's your family doing? And we talked about sometimes you may have to put yourself into an uncomfortable position, meaning giving preference to others. Get to know your brothers on more than superficial level. I mean, we need to, if we really want to improve brotherhood or increase brotherhood, we need to understand who we are, who our brothers are, how many kids they have, we go beyond the superficial level as it states. So call them, get to know them. And first, I just wanted to see the first one. Let's go back to the first one. Spending time with each other. Do you see that as a priority? I want to see some spending time with each other. Okay? All right? And just calling your brothers. Is that something that we should do for no reason? I'm not seeing a lot of hands. All right. So getting to know, I think it's all together, communicating with your brothers, knowing their family members and whatnot. Family gatherings. How many of you do family get-togethers in your units? Okay? So that is something that we all can do, inshallah. And this is a nice way to bring people who are not familiar with ICNA into your gathering too. They may not come and sit in your study circle or learn Quran, but when you ask them for food, they'll show up. And inshallah, over time, you can bring them in. Visit when a brother is sick, if they are going through some difficulty, if someone passed away in their family. And this is something that we have to do. And I've seen many times over and over. All we do is, if they say a message comes in WhatsApp saying that my mother passed away, we just make a dua, cut and paste, and they say Ameen, that's it. No calls, no personal visits, nothing. Is this how we show our care for our brother? So we have to visit them. Small gifts. Tahaddu, tahabbu. So you give gift, and love will come. You will increase love by just giving some gifts. Give gifts to your families, their kids and whatnot. So we do have some items here, social events. How are we getting this out to them, Brother Javed? Just sending it out to them?
Just Eid, on the day of Eid, you receive 200 messages Eid Mubarak. That's the end of it. You say Eid Mubarak. We used to pick up the phone and call each other Eid Mubarak. Along the way, we used to get to know about each other, what your status. Today, this textual world we are living in, even with your own kids, with the kids among themselves, it's a text messaging thing. We need to find a way to come back to some of the things of the past, because communication is one thing which is emphasized all over, communication. Yet our mode of communication is one that has no emotion, that doesn't actually have the context, that has nothing in it. It's just basically the mood of the person reading it, what state he is in, that's how we'll understand it, not necessarily how you want. So we need to basically start picking, even on the day of Eid. Stop saying Eid Mubarak on the text messages. Pick up the phone and make those 20 calls and say Eid Mubarak.
I will mention a story, then which will conclude this portion of the session. One time, a tabi'i by the name of Abu Idris al-Khawlani, a famous tabi'i, he went to a masjid, Masjid al-Kabir in Syria, in Damascus. And when he entered the masjid, he saw a lot of people gather around another person. And the hadith says, this hadith is in Muwatta of Imam Malik. A lot of people were gathered around this one person, and hadith says that he looked clean and his teeth was white, meaning that he was laughing. And whenever they had questions, they referred to him. Whenever they had disagreements, they referred to him. So Abu Idris, he goes, who is this person? So he asked his companion, who is that person? And the companion told him that he is the companion of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu. And the hadith says that Abu Idris's love grew for him. Just hearing that he's a companion of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his love grew for him. And he decided to come back the next day to meet Mu'adh ibn Jabal. So he came much early that day. He wanted to be there in the masjid first. So he came much early to meet Mu'adh ibn Jabal. When he came here, Mu'adh was already there. He was praying. So he went, he sat behind Mu'adh, he let him finish. And after he finished the prayer, Abu Idris, he went around him and he said, Uhibbuka lillah. Uhibbuka lillah. Abu Idris told Mu'adh ibn Jabal, Uhibbuka lillah. That I love you for the sake of Allah subhanahu. And Mu'adh asked, Allah, by Allah do you love me? And he said, yes. And he said, Uhibbuka lillah. He said that 3 times. And he asked Allah 3 times, by Allah you love me? He said that 3 times. Then he said, Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu, he said, Abshir, Abshir, rejoice, be happy. فإني سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول قال الله عز وجل. What are we talking about? Hadith Qudsi. قال الله عز وجل وجبت محبتي. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, وجبت محبتي. My love is mandatory. Upon whom? للمتحابين فيه والمتجالسين فيه والمتزاورين فيه والمتبادلين. Allah's love is mandatory upon 4 groups of people. The one who loves his brother for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one who sits with his brother for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one who visits his brother for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one who spends on his brother, gives his brother for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says his love is mandatory upon these people. And what is the result of this love? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will say, Inna Allah yaqulu yawm al-qiyamah ayna mutahabbuna bi jalali. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on the day of judgment, he will search for the group of people. He will search, Aina mutahabbuna bi jalali. Where are those who loved one another for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Al-yawma adilluhum fi dhilli. That on this day, I'm going to give them shade. Yawma la dhilla illa dhill. That on the day when there is no shade but the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Loving your brother for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it brings, Allah will love you for you loving your brother. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will shade you on the day of judgment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us shade under his shade on the day of judgment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unite our hearts, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us establish the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum.